liquefied petroleum gas users are moving away from it to the use of charcoal and firewood as cooking fuel for various forms of cooking. Now, according to them, the persistent increase in the price is mainly the reason for this change. Now, here's a news desk report focusing on a local eatery and some local eatery operators and the reasons why they are switching from LPG to charcoal. Now, we'll listen to that report later, but in the studio with us, Gabriel Kumi is the Vice Chairman of the LPG Marketers Association, and Dramani Bukari is an energy advisor. Thank you both for your time with us. Let's start from the beginning. Mr. Kumi, this must be hurting you quite a bit.
You're right, Kojo. It's hurting us and it's hurting Ghana. LPG is a product initially we were subsidizing as a country. We subsidized to a point, and government felt at the time that the subsidy was too much, so we should go full cost recovery. We did that for some time, but around 2015, when crude oil price dropped so low, we should have been buying LPG at a very low rate. But government at the time heaped a lot of taxes on the product. Over the years, what has happened is that the taxes have remained very constant, while crude oil price keep going up. And this has shot the pump price to a height that the ordinary consumer is not able to buy. At the moment, from 2016 to present, LPG consumption in Ghana has been very stagnant. In fact, the first quarter figures of this year shows that consumption is dipping. And this is really hurting the country. So we have called for a complete and total removal of all taxes from LPG immediately.
You want LPG to be tax-free?
Tax-free. I mean, the taxes on LPG are one of the nuisance taxes that our finance minister wasn't able to remove. So at this point, we are calling on him, we are pleading with him that to save our environment, to save Ghana, all taxes on LPG must be removed now.
Right. Now, Mr. Bukari, in the grand scheme of things, Ghana as a nation is not really a threat to the global environment as much as other countries are. So if Ghana decides that for the sake of economy, we want to go for charcoal, firewood, and some of these more natural sources, are we really, as Mr. Kumi might suggest, destroying our environment?
Well, it would be a really big deal to have any nation decide that it was going to limit or keep its people within the living standards of decades past us. This is the 21st century. Environmental concerns arrive everywhere, and the effects of these environmental concerns are private but are also social. They are private to the extent that if I were to consign myself to the use of firewood or LPG, sorry, to the use of firewood or charcoal, what it then means is that with firewood, I might be inhaling a lot of smoke every time. I would also be spending a lot of time cooking relative to if I were cooking with LPG. Now, the rate of deforestation is a concern. Between 2005 and 2010, the rate was estimated to be about 2.1% and was found to be the highest across the globe. Quite clearly, we do not want to be noted for this negative statistics.
Right.
And I am not sure that it's in the interest of any government or any nation to want to consign its people to the use of dirty fuels, as we call them.
Okay.
So I think that it makes sense for government to be interested in promoting LPG usage, as we had found with the National LPG Promotion Program and as we had found with the Rural LPG Promotion Program. Question is, have we been very effective at promoting this?
All right. Now, Mr. Kumi says, make the thing tax-free. Do you agree?
That's where the difficulty is. I appreciate that Mr. Kumi is a business person, but I also appreciate that the benefits of LPG goes beyond his business. So there ought to be a balancing act. Now, how can we ensure that we promote LPG at the household level so that we can accelerate the adoption of that, and yet we would still not have it impose a lot of burden on government? Remember that today we are struggling with very minimal fiscal space. And if today we have fiscal consolidation problems, why would we want to create vacuums that bring on additional pressure on our fiscal space? So that's where the problem is. So he's talking about full cost recovery. That's excellent. If we were to ensure that government does not need to rake in revenue from another source or sector to be able to pay for any gaps that are created in revenues or viability gaps created in that business, then perhaps fine, it would be a very good call to make. But question is, can we, and perhaps that's where we all should be thinking about, can we target this kind of, can we target LPG pricing to the extent that only households can benefit? And that's a difficulty because, I mean, research has shown that of all the LPG promotion that was going on and the fact that we're not taxing LPG and etc., only about 37% of it, only about 37% of it was being consumed by commercial drivers. I mean, vehicles. I mean, these are business people and can afford to pay for LPG. Households, we wanted to use them because perhaps a majority of us cannot pay. But to resolve the challenge of clean cooking in this country, our attention must go beyond LPG and look to other improved cooking technologies. Even if LPG prices were to be reduced down to the barest, say by 50%, not many Ghanaians will still be able to afford it.
So the removal of the tax basically would not solve the problem of inaffordability, is the
absolutely,
the
it does appear so.
All right, now let's talk about the actual industry, Mr. Kumi, and unfortunately, there have been some bad apples, if you will. The Ghana Standards Authority not so long ago found an enclave somewhere here in Accra where people were importing substandard gas cylinders from God knows where, respraying them, making them look new, putting fake, insignia on them, filling them with gas, and selling them to the public. Extremely dangerous. How regulated is your, is your industry, and how safe can a customer feel when there are people like that operating in that space?
I think basically it boils down to regulation. We have standards boards, we have National Petroleum Authority, we have Environmental Protection Agency. We have a lot of institutions that should ensure that some of these things will not happen. I think what we need to do is to ensure that these institutions are up and doing so that they do. I mean, this is a human institution. There's, no matter how you try to streamline things, there will be some bad lots here and there. So it boils down to the fact that we should strengthen our institution and make sure that they work.
Do your associations and guilds and so forth have any take any responsibility for self-regulation?
We do self-regulation. The association of our umbrella organization, that's the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, have an in-house regulatory something that goes around and make sure that our members comply to the do's and don'ts. But as I said,
how effective is it?
It's quite effective. But as I've said, this is a human institution, and definitely we are bound to have some of these bad notes.
All right, now I think I'll wrap up with you, Mr. Bukari. Let's look at the way forward. So LPG, by your estimation, is still perhaps the best way, if only we can do something about the price. But what you're saying is that removing the tax is not enough. Well, if you remove the tax, all you're left with is the actual price, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So really, what can we do?
So what we should do is to, beyond promoting LPG, expand to include other improved cooking technologies, like we have improved cookstoves, for instance. I mean, most of these cookstoves have very higher I mean, very high efficiency levels. If you look at the tier 3, tier 4 stoves, I mean, if we focus also on promoting them,
what sorts of fuel do they use?
They largely use biomass, but at a reduced rate. So they might either use briquettes, they might use pellets, they might use charcoal, they might even use firewood. But then the benefit here is that they use them at a very reduced rate. And in fact, that reduced rate does not only affect the levels of firewood that are used, but also the levels of pollution that emits from them, you know, and all of that. And they are at a very low price.
At which it would cook.
Absolutely, and they cook really very well. And if you look at the tier 4, tier 5 stoves, I can tell you that they are as good as LPG. I mean, pellet burning, briquette burning stoves at that very high tier can be extremely very good. And they burn very well, except that it also comes with a higher price, you know. But the question is, it's a one-off price that you ought to pay and all of that. So a lot of other mechanisms ought to be put in place to be able to get the sector moving. Government at this point is developing a clean cooking strategy. We hope that they come up with a very good strategy that is able to push the sector forward. And I think that all the other stakeholders, like the LPG marketers companies, LPG marketers association and the rest of the other associations within the sector ought to sit around the table with government so we can have a very concerted effort at getting the promotion of LPG at the level that we wish it to be.
All right.
Just a minute.
Sure, our time is up, but I'll give you 30 seconds.
Okay, you see, I can appreciate my brother's point of view, but you know, no matter how little it is, LPG is a product with an elastic demand. What it means is that once you lower prices, you attract more people into the consumption net. So we believe that if the taxes of about 25% are removed, it will go a long way to get more people into the consumption net. So
even though the energy analysts suggest that even if the price is reduced by 50%, there will still be so many people crowded out.
Definitely, there's no way you can have 100% Ghanaians using LPG. But if you reduce the price, you would have made some advance towards making sure that, I mean, government is talking about 50% penetration level by the year 2030. And we believe that when the taxes are removed, we can go a long way towards achieving this objective.
Mr. Kumi, thank you for your time. Also, Mr. Bukari, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there was a news desk report on this. It'll probably shed a bit more light on the consumer behavior in response to the increasing prices of LPG. Check it out.
Gas in mum particular there, and gas in mum the encaye. Nanso bidie no ne to no aye ka se bidie na use bidie no untimi num se de obetuma dum gas no se nka se pass de pa de enka bidie no je she gas no mu se gas no boy den and as it stands we ko so
it's not to say gas isn't good. It is, but honestly, I would prefer charcoal to gas. Gas is too expensive and it does not even last long.
Hard drink. And there's a coto issues here, and says, "Coach, I think it was on and the crowd, Timothy be and the crowd, and fire and pong." Young religious uncle to be. Gas in the Kayemu and answer no, no boy a day. So it is a timidum gas, no. It timidum be said and kidum gas, no, and KB should be the mum, a gas. I will say gas, no, the salmon a cost.
It's 8 p.m. in Accra, just around the time the market booms for sellers of noodles, tea, rice and other eatables. Dinah has been selling noodles in the evening for more than 5 years. She owns a 2-burner LPG stove, but she doesn't cook on it. Instead, she uses it for storage. She says she stopped using it for the past few months due to the drastic increment in LPG price.
And gas ni boy de anything I want to use gas ni biom. E do ton so endorse wo from anko and do one month na san. To be dey ni boy.
Now I use charcoal because the gas is too expensive, so I can't afford it. A full bag of charcoal costs 60 or 70 cedis depending on the type of wood, and it's able to last for 2 months.
I won't use gas again until it is reduced.
Full and 1.1. And a video no phone, 600,000. A bit